Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm doing something completely new for myself, but this is a Challengeacraftyfriend card together with Julia. So I'm listing to her card down below, so please go and check that out. She is amazing. So these stems I'm using today are from Avery Elle, the Oh Tiny Tree and Santa Bear, and I'm also using the window from the stamp market. So first of all, I have stamped all the critters out onto Neenah with Gina K Design Amalgam ink, and I'm going to use my Copic markers to color everything in. For the clothing and the accessories, I am using different shades of red. I'm not going to add a lot of other colors that will catch your attention. There is a lot going on in this card, but I really wanted to keep it as simple as possible. So the challenge. The challenge of today is to create an inside shadow box with the theme Trim the Tree. And I have never made an inside shadow box. It's an idea that I think came from Jennifer Maguire. It's actually there where I got the instructions for this video, as well as some videos from Julia, because she already made a few that are truly spectacular. But for today's card, I am also creating a window in front, and I think that part of the card really made it a bit more tricky. The idea of a shadow box is actually really simple to create, and I will show it to you in this video. Also on my blog you can find the score lines that I used and the sizes of my panels. And of course there is that video of Jennifer Maguire that I really recommend you watching if you want to create this, to have a good idea, because there are a lot of shadow boxes that can be created. So that's really handy. So here I am coloring, and as always I am first adding my darkest color, then my mid-tone, and in the end my lightest color if I have three, otherwise it's from darkest to lightest. And I just come back and forth until I'm happy with the blend. Like for the bear here, there is a huge gap between my two colors, but if you go over them 2 times, I think it works out fine. So that's what I'm doing. And then once everything is colored in, and there is a lot of coloring today, I am using the matching dies to cut everything out. Okay, so now I'm going to die cut everything and then we can start on the card. So first of all, for the card and for the inside shadow box, I just trimmed one full piece of Neenah 110 in two, so that you actually have two regular A2 size card bases. And because I only have a tiny trimming machine, I score it like a normal card base. This is the card base as well for this specific card, and then I'm going to trim off 1/4 of an inch. And now I can actually see the measurements of my card base, so that's handy for me. If you have a trimming machine, you can just already trim in front of scoring, but that's what I did. So here you can see this is the back, the other side is the front. And then there is of course the stamp on the back. I don't know if you guys have a stamp that you put on the back, but this is a perfect timing to add that one, because as soon as you start adding things to the inside, it will get hard to stamp it out. Onto the shadow box, as you saw previously, the back of the card base is smaller, so I'm scoring at the same score here, and that's just the regular A2 minus 1/4 of an inch. So I'm doing that, and then of course the width of the shadow box is at 1/4 of an inch, so there I'm scoring as well. And then I am turning over my panel after I have creased everything already. I'm turning it over and then I will score again on 1/4 of an inch. Also on my blog again, I have added those score lines that I'm doing. And this actually creates your shadow box. And then I need to create some sort of a frame or cutout. In my case, I'm going to cut out a rectangle to create my scene on the inside of the card. From this tiny piece, I'm going to trim off a sliver. It's not necessarily, but it's easier, and it will have a greater result when you fold close your card. Then it will all be inside of it. It's a bit of a crazy expression like I'm saying it right now, but you will get it later on. So it's time for me to create my frame. I don't have any dies that are perfect for this, so I'm just going to draw in my own rectangle on this panel, and then I will use my craft knife to cut it out. So that's my frame, and I did a rectangle here, but you can see in the video from Jennifer Maguire that you don't necessarily need to have a rectangle. It was just better for what I had sort of in my mind. But you could also use a circular die, and that would work perfectly as a shadow box also. So just whatever feels comfortable for you. Something that I'm going to do now is to create my background onto this piece. What you can also do is wait with the background and create another panel for the background and just slide it inside of your shadow box. But I just didn't want to add any more weight to my card. It's already going to be a really sturdy, thick card as it is. So I just decided that I was going to ink blend some on this background. And then I will also create 2 snowy hills that I will sort of ink blend a little bit as well, and then already add to this piece before assembling everything. So for my hills, I'm using these stitched Hillside borders by Fawn. And then I'm also making sure that it will fit inside of my shadow box, so I will trim it down a bit to the perfect size. And then I can add it. I'm going to add the largest one on the back completely, and then the smallest one is going to be just inside of the frame on the back. And this way I will have dimension inside of my shadow box. Before assembling everything, I'm first going to continue with the front of my card base, and as I showed you in the beginning, I'm going to use this amazing window by the Stamp Market. You might want to add this window in the middle of your front flap, but with the frame that is going to be flat when you close that card, I didn't want it to show. So what I did was I placed the window more to the right of my card front, and to just have an excuse of doing that without being like obliged because of the frame on the inside, I have stamped out that fox in the beginning and colored it, because that one is going to look from the left to the outside, and this way it looks like the window should have been there all along. So I'm cutting it out. And then I decided that I wanted to use this pattern paper by Honeybee Stamps. I just adore these pattern papers. If I thought about it right from the start, I would have die cut it together with my card base. Now I am sort of die cutting it again, but it will however shift a little bit in my die cutting machine. So it's not that perfect, but it works. It's not bad, but I'm going to die cut it again. And to keep it in the right spot, I am also going to run through my die cutting machine with my card base. So having done that, I am going to add this pattern paper, and I added it directly on my card front. Now when I did that, I realized that actually with the window it was quite fragile. So I decided that I was going to add a piece of acetate in between, and I don't know why I didn't think about it immediately, because acetate, a window, it just makes it all way more realistic, but I didn't think about it. Okay, so let's forget about it, but I fixed it. And that was a bit fiddling, and I had to come back to those frames from the window to get it completely adhered to the acetate, but it worked out fine in the end. If I would redo it, what I don't think I am going to do, not with a shadow box at least, the acetate should be added immediately. But here I used liquid glue, so I could peel it off again. But if I could have chosen, yeah, you know, just doing it immediately. Also, no chance of ripping anything if you do it immediately, so that's the way to go actually. But in the end, you don't really see that I have fiddled with it a lot, and that's the most important thing. But I'm adding a bit of acetate here. And once that's done, it's time to add everything onto this card. So the first thing that we are going to do is to add that shadow box. And what I prefer doing is to first add the back. So as you can see here, that's how it's going to be. And to keep it really sturdy and have it adhered really well, I'm using some score tape. It's like when I'm creating a box card, I also prefer score tape. It's so sturdy, it's like really strong, and that's what I want to go for. So you add this to the back of your card base. And then you have that small piece where you trimmed off a little sliver, and you're also going to add some score tape on that. And to make sure that you have aligned it perfectly and it's right where it should be added, you just remove the backing, you keep it flat with your one hand, and then you fold close your card like this, and that is your shadow box created. That's how easy it is. Okay, so it's just important to score it on the right places, and then you're good to go. And you remember that I have cut off a tiny sliver from that small piece. That's because now you are not seeing the shadow box peeking from underneath the front flap. There is a lot of creasing on that spot where you are adding that small sliver. If you didn't cut off that tiny one, then you have a lot coming together in that corner, and with cutting it off, you just fold everything and it's right against that crease and not inside the crease where you need to add it. So that's sort of why cutting off a small tiny sliver helps. So here I have added this final piece to the window, and now I'm going to add all my critters to my card. I'm using liquid glue today. I'm not doing any dimension. You could add dimension on the front, but I would not recommend it inside the card, because there is a point where you are going to fold it close and you are going to put it in an envelope, and then more bulk than you already have with all the critters is just not something that I would recommend. But on the front you could always add some foam squares, but I just didn't want to do that. So liquid glue all the way. Then I'm adding all my images on the inside, and I will later on, you can see here that my card is standing open. It's because I used a really thick cardstock, the Neenah 110. But that's also handy because I didn't add any glossy accents or stickles to my images yet, and I'm going to do that once everything is adhered. If you use a thinner cardstock and your card keeps sort of closed, then I would recommend adding your stickles and your glossy accents right after you die cut them, and then you are sure that it will be dry before you add it and everything will have its decorations. But for me it worked out fine like this. Also the bird in the front will get some stickles on the head, and that will be my card. So there is still a lot of adhering going on and then the embellishments, but this is actually how you create a shadow box. And I really like the end result, but of course the shadow box gives you the opportunity to create more scenes. So if you like having a lot on your card and the extra surprise element, you should really try out the inside shadow box. It's a lot of fun to create actually. The window in the front for me made it a bit more difficult, I think, than just create two scenes on the inside and one on the outside. And now I had to make sure that you couldn't see the shadow box from the outside. But I actually adore this window from Stamp Market, so I'm glad I used it, but it made it a bit more difficult. On the other hand, because of the window, I didn't have to create like a huge scene in the front, so that was also something handy for some people like me. It's handy, for others it's a missed opportunity. But yeah, so that's how my card is getting created, and I just really had a lot of fun. I love these images from Avery Elle. The Santa Bear is from last year, if I'm not wrong, and then the old tiny tree is from this September, and I got my hands on it, so I wanted to use it, and I'm glad I did. As I told you before, this is a Challengeacraftyfriend card, so the amazing Julia from Craft Room Adventures will also have made a shadow box. So if you want to see that one, in my description box down below is a link towards her YouTube and Instagram as well. So I hope you will check it out and give her some love because she is amazing. And then for the rest, I hope that you enjoyed this video and that you like the end result. If you did, you can always give this one a thumbs up. If you're curious about the elements that I used, I have them listed down below in the description box. And that will be it for today for me. I hope you have a wonderful day left, and I will see you back soon. Bye!